Hey everybody, it's Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio. Browsing the news this morning today. Came across an interesting article. Now this is a bit business, it's a bit techy, but I was an entrepreneur for many years, so I hope you'll forgive me. But it's really, really important as far as understanding what is really driving online economies these days. And the article is called, Hey Advertisers, the Data Mining Emperor Has No Clothes. And we'll put a link to this below. So there's this belief in online advertising that, you comb through everyone's demographics and you comb through their preferences and their past histories and Lord knows what else they're opening up, what kimonos they're ripping wide. But you can figure out how to target potential purchasers with surgical laser-like precision. And, you've got massive server farms grinding through every conceivable online algorithm to try and find what it is that you want to buy next. And some people say like online advertising has actually exceeded television advertising spending in 2016, and traditional media advertising kind of stagnating, kind of declining, and online advertising is going nuts, particularly in like mobiles, phones and stuff like that. And here's the thing though, online advertising doesn't really work that well according to some measures. So Procter & Gamble is a big company. They recently announced a huge reduction in their online social media advertising spending. And this huge reduction, this cost savings, had no measurable effect on sales. So they cut back a whole bunch of advertising and it had no measurable effect on sales. So that's a data point that's important to consider. There's also something in online advertising called click fraud. So what's clicking on these ads may not actually be human beings who are interested in the product and might purchase it, but they're automated bots. Like they're hoovering up money from competitors and from advertisers and so on. Well, how do you know it's a real person, or how do you know if it's a bot? And this is important, right? There are these click farm sites out there in the world. And if you pay them, then they will go and click on a whole bunch of ads. And maybe you're using this to dampen the fiscal prospects of your competitor. And that's kind of important. Click fraud is not obviously much discussed by people selling online advertising. The numbers are kind of kept pretty quiet. And so there's all of this, it's a huge market, it's a fast-growing market, and if you walk past a Subway shop and an ad pops up on your phone saying, here's $1 off a sub, then boy, they're just going to come in and buy a sub and so on. Because the whole idea behind online advertising is you can somehow predict what someone is going to buy next based on what they bought previously. I'll give you a personal example, right? So I have a studio, it gets a little musty, so I bought a little air cleaner. And of course, after I bought the air cleaner, hey, you want an air cleaner? Would you like an air cleaner? Can I get an air cleaner for you? And it's like, no, I just bought one. I guess if you take one back and you want a different one, but that's not hugely common, right? Because, I do my research before I buy, like most people. Money is precious, so I want to make sure I'm not wasting it. So think of the things that you buy online, or whether some digital record. Think of the things that you buy. How many of them are you going to buy again soon? Like you just bought a tablet. Hey, would you like a tablet? Would you like it? It doesn't make any sense. And so this whole industry is based on, well, if you can figure out what people bought previously, you'll figure out what they can buy next. Now, that is true for repetitive purchase items, right? It's groceries, gas, that kind of stuff. But in order to get someone to shift their preferences from one gas station to another or from one grocery store to another, you have to offer them the kind of discounts that will pretty quickly put you out of business if you're not careful. So that is important, right? If you just bought a plane ticket to Buenos Aires, are you likely to buy another one soon? Hey, if I got a plane ticket to you understand? It's like trying to drive at high speed, only looking in the rear view. It doesn't really help. Is there all of this data mining? Does it actually help advertisers target you when you're about to buy something? I mean, even if we assume that you haven't installed ad blocking software, which of course is not mentioned a lot by people who are trying to sell this kind of advertising. Just think of your own behavior. I invite business people to think of this too. Just think of your own behavior. There's a couple of things. First of all, if there are going to be enough ads to help cover the costs of some website and so on, then it's like, you load up a shotgun with a bunch of postage stamps and you just burst them straight at the screen. Okay, so you get this big smorgasbord. Now, of course, in certain, I think it's on iOS, there's like Reader View, which strips stuff out. There's ad blocking software. There are entire ad blocking browsers, which will hide things and so on. So have you ever looked at one of those ads and clicked on it and ended up buying something? People are nervous as well because there are phishing scams, there are fraud sites, not everything goes through vetting. And Equifax just put out a communication that had people clicking on a phishing scam or something like that. So there's some little blur. Now, either they're innocuous, in which case you just don't even see them, or they're blaring, in which case they're annoying. You got your volume turned up because you were listening to In Excess, say, and then boom, someone's trying to sell you something in your eardrum, and it's like, now I'm just annoyed. Now I'm just frustrated. So there have been studies as well which show that millennials in particular, like they tune out ads. They can study like eye movement when you're looking. They don't even look at the ads. They don't register. They don't show up or anything like that. And as for this, while you're walking past a sub shop and boom, a coupon pops up on your phone, a lot of people find that kind of creepy. Like, don't know where I am at all times, advertiser people. Like, that's just kind of weird because people's security and privacy settings and so on, whether they've even got location on, whether they're in airplane mode because, it's right next to your body. You don't necessarily want all that radiation and so on. It is kind of creepy when an ad pops up and says, oh, I see you're at such and such a location. Would you like a coupon? It's like, ugh, get out of my life. Get out of my life. So this question of online advertising and whether it works, it's really, really tough. And, I invite everyone out there, particularly if you're involved in buying these kinds of ads, this combat between advertisers and consumers, like a television station doesn't exist to deliver shows to you. It exists to deliver you to advertisers. And the shows are like the bait. The hook is the advertising. So the problem, of course, is that the people want the shows, they don't want the ads. So what do? Well, they leave the room, or they push the mute, or they turn and chat and say, oh, what did you think of that last scene or whatever. So people studiously avoid the ads. And when I was younger, I don't know if this still goes on, they used to crank up the volume of the ads so that when you went into the kitchen to go get some popcorn, you could still hear the ads. The number of impressions it takes for an ad to leave anything in your mindset is pretty... It's extreme. You're paying a lot. It's not just one ad, one potential customer. You have to hit people dozens of times for them even to have a vague memory. And there have been sort of famous ad campaigns in the past. Like one of the famous ones was, I think it was Wendy's. There was this old woman who's like, would open up this sad little burger and say, where's the beef? Where's the beef? And it didn't really budge. And it was very famous, and, comedians did stuff on it. It went viral and all that. Did it really change the number of people who go to Wendy's to try a burger? Not really. If you remember, Oprah gave away all these cars. Didn't really change things much, even though that became something which people still reference. So this is really, really important to understand, right? There's click fraud, there's people just tuning out ads, there's ad blocking, and there's this whole belief that you can predict somehow what someone's going to buy next based upon their past purchase history. And again, advertisers want to sell you the expensive stuff, but the expensive stuff you only buy on occasion. And you don't necessarily tend to buy things repetitively. If you go for a vacation to Aruba, well, maybe you want to go back to the same place. Maybe you don't. Probably want to go someplace new. You just booked a flight to Rome. Are you going to go back to Rome within the next couple of months? Maybe, I guess, but that's probably for business, in which case consumer advertising doesn't really help you that much. And just think about how you go about buying things. I'll tell you how I go about buying things if and when I have to. When I go about buying things, I'll do a whole bunch of research. I'll look up review sites. I'll look at comments. I'll, look at the comments of people who've bought stuff. I don't go to ads because everyone understands that the ads are going to be highlighting the positives while, of course, completely eliminating any potential negatives. So, for people who are out there who are spending money, and I did this way back at the beginning when I was starting this philosophy show. I did some ads in various places. I found one place that wasn't too bad, but most of it was just a complete waste of money. Worse than a waste of money. It was a waste of money and time. And it delayed the start of investing in what I needed to invest in for this show. So all of this, it's just one of these foundational beliefs that people don't often put to an empirical test. People are spending more time online, but they're spending less time looking at ads. And even if they are looking at ads, who knows whether or not past purchases predict future purchases, which is kind of the basis of the whole system. So if you're in business and you want to start making some real coin or saving some real coin, have a look at your online advertising. Poll your employees, see how they go about purchasing things. Just don't assume that it's going to work just because there are a lot of people online. Look at the data. Try and figure out if it's going to work or not. And I think the data points that there are some significant questions as to even the basic economic validity of something like online advertising. There are other better ways to get a hold of customers. Like what you can do, of course, is you can get involved in a big cause, and not something cheesy where your logo is front and center, because that looks kind of manipulative. If you just get involved in a big cause, trust me, people are going to find you if they care about what you're doing and they appreciate it. Be a little tough to find, and then you look much more honorable. That's a way of positively associating your brand with people's perceptions, and it's a way of really getting a message across that is very positive. So, yeah. Just have a look at your own behaviors, ask people around you, figure out whether it's worth spending one dime on it, because you may be spending a whole lot of money to make some server farm in Ukraine rich.